This is Seymour Rocks reporting from Down Under. I just want to talk briefly about Oroville, where evidence is mounting that there's a major disaster that's just waiting in the wings. And sometimes I think, oh, why should I be interested in this? Because I'm sitting here in New Zealand 6,500 miles away. What concern is it of mine? Well, I think, apart from just being kind of empathetic and caring about the lives of 1 million Californians, there's also reasons closer to home, because I think that this is going to have a major effect on the US, obviously, and on the US economy. And even if you kind of even if you disregard this particular story, then we've still got problems. And I'll just start off by explaining briefly why. So this is a report that came out on the 3rd of April on CNN. At our current pace, it'll take 80 years to repair all the structurally deficient bridges in the US, a report finds. So basically, you've got a country that's been waging war for 19 years, constantly just draining the economy, while education, health, and most importantly, infrastructure just goes by the board. And so you basically had 20 years where almost nothing has been happening, everything has been crumbling, so that you have infrastructure, bridges, dams, you name it, that are just crumbling, and they have badly needed maintenance, which has not been forthcoming, and that is the very stuff of collapse. So let's just go through. Officials have dubbed Monday's bridge collapse in Tennessee a freak accident, but that might be turning a blind eye to a larger issue. Bridges across the United States are deteriorating, and a new report estimates it'll take more than 80 years to fix them all. More than 47,000 bridges in the United States are in crucial need of repairs, says the American Road and Transportation Builders Association, or ARTBA, the group which advocates for investment in transportation infrastructure, analyzes data from the Federal Highway Administration and releases an annual deficient bridge report. And here goes a picture of a selection of concrete that fell from a bridge in Chattanooga in Tennessee, shutting 2 interstate ramps. So that's just the thin edge of the wedge, I believe, and the ground zero for all of this decay is now Oroville. So this is a picture of the I don't know, I think it's the spillway, and I've been reporting on this for a few days on my blog, but there's some new stuff that has come through on this, so I shall just play this brief segment to give you an idea of the latest, and I'll put the description of the link for the video in the description box below, because I think it's essential listening to anybody in the US, and especially to anybody who's living in California. So anyway, I'll put this on.
Paul Preston and others have been saying now for weeks that the spillway is damaged beyond usage. The spillway contains pictures now that I've been publishing now for a good 3 weeks on thecommonsenseshow.com, and it shows the water coming up through the cracks. They've been grouting, which is no more than a cosmetic move, and the next day the grouting has failed, the water again resurfaces, yet they want to put out the pictures following immediate grouting to show there are no leaks in the spillway. Well, this morning, the Department of Water Resources basically admitted the spillway is not usable. They're using a workaround, an emergency workaround, to try to delay the inevitable. I'll get to that workaround in just a moment. However, and here's the big however, this situation is invoking, well, let's back up. Here are sheer numbers. Number one, the outflow that the dam can generate right now is so compromised it can't expel 10,000 cubic square feet of water per second. Can't. 9,500 is your typical number. The inflow, things derived from water upstream, whether it be from rain, from snow, from melted snowpack, and the melted snowpack doesn't reach its peak until July. It's now raining at the dam. It's projected to rain for the next 3 days. The inflow right now is at 17,500 cubic square feet per second. The outflow is less than 10. They're doing a workaround, and they're saying we're not going to use the spillway. There's the admission that the spillway is broken, as we have been contending for weeks. And they're going to divert water through the bend spikes, and it's going through the power plant near the dam and will be emptied out into the Feather River. This process, from what the Department of Water Resources is saying, this is their numbers, not ours. They can generate about 13,000 square feet, cubic square feet of water per second, 13,000. They need 17,000 plus. They're still coming up 4,000 plus short. Now the inflow has been as low as 14,000, but it has hovered for the most part over 17,000. That number is expected to rise with the rainfall that stretches from Oroville to parts north that flow into the water making its way to the dam.
Okay, oh, that might be quite good. That portentous music came on straight away. Anyway, I strongly recommend that you listen to the rest of this this video. It's the very latest news, just hours old as far as I know. But in the meantime, I just want to share a couple of things with you. So this is what I put up earlier on today. The Oroville Dam spillway is damaged beyond repair. So this is a picture of the Lake Oroville spillway without the water flowing, and this is from 2017. So this is what they have been repairing since then, but there's been so much secrecy around this, and now there seems to be this tacit admission. I don't have a source for anything that they've put out to confirm that. I'm just believing kind of what people are reporting. So anyway, that's how it looked in 2017. So that's a potential of kind of what could happen. And I said in an introduction, there are always people who will say that this is fear porn. To these people, I would say discretion is the better part of valor. What have people to lose from heeding this? Taking action before disaster might just save lives. So my recommendation is to people living in the downstream from the dam, get out while you can. And I think from what Margot was saying on her video, she was looking at all the weather patterns and that are coming in, that today could be the last opportunity to window of opportunity to do that. So, and there's been a lot of censorship. So I saw, when I went on a site before, I found a link to an article on this, and already, I don't know how old this is, but when I went to open it, it had already been removed. Item not found, so it doesn't exist anymore. So it's hard to imagine why the authorities would go to such lengths to suppress discussion of this unless there was something to the story. Now these are the current lake levels. I'll leave it to others to explain all the significance, but as I understand it, this is the level of the lake, and it's going up a little bit slowly because they are managing to have an outflow. But as you can see from this, that the inflow is approximately the same as the outflow. Now that's on a day when, as I understand it, there's no rain. It's a break in the weather. So we have yet to see the effects of at least two major systems of what do they call them? Atmospheric rivers, and there was already something in on that. I'll just carry on actually. So the way I see it is that the spillway is inoperable, and they're using other methods to try in vain to release the water from the lake. They can never keep up with the rain, the snowmelt, and the water from reservoirs upstream. I believe, on the basis of the information that I have at my hands, that this is a disaster in the making. The best action would be to get out of Dodge. Aside from that, one can only pray for a miracle. Now, this was something that was discussed by Margot on her video yesterday, and I'm just going to repeat this. I've presented it in a different way, so you don't actually have to go through a whole hour of her video, but I really recommend that you do, because it was an absolutely stellar report. Anyway, if you think that this is just a few conspiracy theorists, speaking, then perhaps you ought to listen to Bob B. Bob B is a California-based forensic engineer who has been called in to investigate major disasters like Deepwater Horizon and Hurricane Katrina. He's retired now, but he's absolutely at the top of his profession, and he was brought in 2017 after the mass evacuation of I can't remember the number of people to investigate, and he came up with a report, an engineer's report, that is absolutely hair-raising. So this is not from your conspiracy theory, this is from this man, and he's one of the top experts. So I took a few screenshots of key parts of an article which appeared, which was called Bob B. Takes Us on a Deep Dive Through His Dire Oroville Report. And indeed, it is dire. So the question was, you investigated some of the nation's most spectacular disasters, including Hurricane Katrina, Deepwater Horizon, and the Challenger space shuttle. How would a major breach at Oroville compare to these incidents? And is such a failure even possible? Now listen to this. Yes, it is possible, and it would be far worse than any of them. A breach at Oroville would send a wall of water down the Feather River, through the Sacramento Valley, and ultimately into the Sacramento San Joaquin Delta. Sorry about my pronunciation. It would destroy towns along the Feather and Sacramento rivers, flood major portions of Sacramento, and blow out levees throughout the Delta, permanently flooding much of the region. The huge government pumps near Tracy that send water to Southern California cities and farms would be incapacitated, and there would be tremendous loss of life and liberty. And it would be years before a permanent water delivery system to the South State could be re-established. And of course we know we don't have years. Everything is just collapsing before our eyes. Furthermore, it wouldn't necessarily take a tremendous amount of rain and uncontrolled releases, as we saw in February 2017, to trigger such a failure. It could happen on a bright, sunny summer's day, and that's not what we've got at the moment. The situation is that serious. So I think almost for maximum effect, I won't read any more. I'll just go through these slowly. And you can read this. I'll leave a link to my article also in the descriptions below. So this is saying that they've known, the Department of Water Resources has been aware of Oroville's problems for many years, and he says yes. And he describes this in pretty much in layman's terms. And he goes through other things, all the things that he found with corrosion. I believe they even found green grass growing out of the dam, which indicates that there's massive leakages, because the grass in this part of California is supposed to be brown, not green. Yeah, here we are. We're also alarmed by green grass growing on the abutments. That's because the grass shouldn't be green in that part of California during the summer and fall. It should be brown. So when you see lush green grass, it indicates that there's seepage through the dam face. So what that shows is that there's damage which you can't see. So anyway, I'm just going to kind of leave it on that, because I think just this segment here, it says it all, and really you don't need to know anything more. So that's it from me. If you want more detail and about the weather that's coming, and and more information, I really strongly suggest that you read listen to Margot's reports, and I'll put some other links as well. There's also a kind of live stream with discussion going on at the moment, so I'll leave the link to that. So really, if I can get to turn this off, I don't know quite how I do that. Okay, so I'm going to, having succeeded in that, I'm going to sign off now. This is Seymour Rocks reporting from Down Under.